So when you say, where are you in the birth order? And they say, well, I'm the youngest of 3, I'm the youngest of 5, I'm the youngest, well, some of my cousins who were growing up in farming families, which we always understood growing up, the reason so many farming families had lots of kids was because that was the free work on the farm. You could have instead of hiring 10 people to work the farm, farming families might have 10 kids. All of my cousins were driving tractors by the time they were age 9, helping my aunt and uncle in the fields and around the farm and so forth, because of course they didn't have to be paid. It was part of the family. But that's why I say, in their case, it would have been the question of, where are you in the family lineup? And they might answer, I'm number 5 of 15. Yes, they had 15 kids. And it seemed like they got along fine from what I could tell, but we only got to visit them a couple times a year. In addition to that, though, as the kids grew up, you could also ask, where are you in the transition out of the home? They might be not helping out with chores on the farm so much anymore because they were now in college looking at a future career in architecture, and getting all the training and education for that, which would shift the whole focus of their life in a very different direction from maintaining the family farm. There were always some of my cousins who were thinking in terms of becoming a farmer, as carrying on the family tradition, inheriting the farm and carrying on the business, because it was what they grew up knowing. It was what they grew up knowing. And in that sense, additional education could add to what they knew, but it wasn't like they had to learn it from square one. Like the amusing movie, The Egg and I, in which a couple from the city decide to move out and become chicken farmers and don't know the first thing about it. And of course that's what part of what makes the movie so amusing. And in the end everything worked out, but in their case it worked out because, in answer to their question, where, in a sense they were in the wrong place, because they were city people who knew nothing about farming, and they moved out to this small farm to raise chickens, and wound up buying a house that was in such massive need of repair. That was the first challenge, because they had never had to fix up a house before. But the thing that made the movie work, and that made all their troubles okay in the end, was that they had unknowingly chosen to move to a community, to a region where people understood what struggle was, and because everyone understood, everyone helped everyone. And at the end of the movie, when they think they've lost everything in a forest fire, all of the neighbors show up, and everybody donates something, and the couple gets to stay and to carry on and continue and build their lives back again. That's a very significant where, to know whether you're in a safe neighborhood, whether you're in a supportive community, whether you're someplace where you should not walk alone on a dark street at night, or whether you're someplace that you can walk your dog at 11:30 p.m. and have nothing to worry about. And there are neighborhoods of both extremes and everything in between, obviously, all over the United States. And so in that sense, answering the question where becomes very important, because your physical safety may be at stake. In an additional wrinkle to that, of course, is if you happen to be what's sometimes referred to as a marginalized population. If you're a transgender person, if you're gay, lesbian, an immigrant, an older woman, elderly at all, if you're in certain neighborhoods, certain groups of people get targeted for criminal activity more than others. The criminal statistics for transgender people are astronomically higher than for any other group at the present time. It seems as that's the other question. Where in time are you? Are you living in the 1950s? Are you living in the early 2000s? Are you living in the 1990s? each of us is born into a time and place, both of which could be answered by the question where. By living in the time we're living, we get to experience multicultural stuff that 50 years ago wasn't available to most of the people in the United States. We also live in this transitional time in which things are getting better, and more of the groups I've mentioned have freedom to simply be themselves than they had in the past. But there are still many places where it's not as safe as it should be, as it hopefully someday will be, for them to simply be themselves and get on with their life and not worry about somebody else's approval. If we were put in the world to approve of each other, I'm not sure that even the first civilization would have ever been created, because there's enough differentness between any two people that we always find something to argue about. It's not bad that we argue, but it would be better if we could learn how to argue intelligently so that we could pull out of that addressing of conflict, pull out of that a better collaboration. That because I understand you a little bit better, I know when to help you and I know when to ask you for help. And you can know the same things about me. In any case, there's so much more that we could talk about with the question word where. Where are you on the spectrum of ideologies? Where are you in the pursuit of your dreams? All of these answers are dependent upon the context around them. We can't answer the question where without first figuring out what's around us, without looking outside of ourselves to see who's standing there and really listening to them, to see where we are in time and having some understanding of all the historical forces that have shaped the place where we are, so that we're sensitive to being grateful for what others have sacrificed in order to get us that far.